Hey everybody, it's your buddy Pete A. Turner, executive producer and host of the Break It Down Show. So during the summer, I went out to the Texas border, Del Rio County, where all the Haitians just came. Before that, it was people from this country, that country. Turns out Del Rio, Valverde County, Del Rio, Texas. Del Rio is a town of about 30,000 people. They don't have the resources to take on a multinational flood of immigrants. They don't have the facilities. They don't have the budget. And there's all these problems that come with this. And so I got Judge Owens, who runs their emergency response, their immigration response down there, and it is eye-opening. And there's more to come from this. We've got a whole bunch of stuff I'm trying to put together. It takes time, but I'm just telling you right now, this show with Judge Owens it's going to open your eyes to how complex the border situation is, and we only covered one aspect of it. So you're just really going to love this. Here's the thing. I like to go out and do these kind of shows. I like to go out to where the action is. I like to go out and show you guys what's going on, because it gives you an idea of what it's like from the people who actually live there, the people who actually have to bear the burden of the decisions. This is not political. This is both sides make decisions, and it impacts the people of Del Rio, Texas. It impacts people up and down that border. And it's a big, long border. All right. So enough about that. What I want you to get out of this is it's one piece of many parts of the border puzzle. I'm proud to deliver it to you. Here comes Judge Owens.
Lions Rock Productions.
This is Jay Moore.
This is Greg Proops.
This is Jordan Harbinger.
This is Dexter from The Offspring.
This is Nathan
This is Sebastian Younger.
This is Rick Marotta.
This is Stuart Copeland. This is Mick Gillette.
This is Andy Summers.
Hey, this is Skunk Baxter.
This is Gabby Reese.
This is Rob Bell.
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero.
Hey, and this is Pete A. Turner.
And now, the Break It Down Show with John Leon Guerrero and Pete A. Turner.
We were told in June we would be able to get funding for our jail, individuals that have been jailed there for smuggling, and we'd be able to get reimbursed. As of today, that's not happening. Our last invoice that we turned into the state was about $190,000. We've not seen a penny of that, or a dime, whatever you want to call it. We haven't seen any funds from the state as it relates to that. I do appreciate, though, that they set up a processing center, but we're going to get on a conversation this afternoon at 3 o'clock to figure out if it's in the county's best interest to continue with this. You know, you're the first one that's hearing that.
Yeah.
Right now, we came out of Commissioner's Court, and the amount of dollars that it's fixing to cost us are fixing to get staggering. So
this is remarkable, and you hear that. I watched a video of you earlier. I guess we call it testifying in front of state legislation on what was going on. It's 2019, and so this is a different federal administration, and you guys seem to feel like you had your hands wrapped around the problem to some extent.
In 2019, you know, and it's, as much as you'd like to say it's not political,
Right.
Shit's political.
Okay, that was a question I had.
That's it. I'm a Democrat, run as a Democrat. When President Trump was president, he's my president.
Yeah.
He is president. Governor Abbott's a Republican. He's my governor.
Right.
And like I said the other day, he's the only one out of the administration that we have now and what's going on that sort of brought a bucket of water to the fire. You know, he sort of set the fire when he did the declaration that we couldn't transport. But in my opinion, up to now, he's been the only one willing to help. You know, he did try to alleviate some of the pressure by setting up a processing center, open up the facility in Dilley. But at the end of the day, we're having issues even with that process. You know, and we're going to have a conversation with the state as to how much money this is fixing to cost me. The first 43 individuals that went through the processing center, we ended up appointing attorneys on the county's dime.
Right.
You know, and that was not what was told to us. Now we're willing to get reimbursed, or we're being told we're going to get reimbursed, and naturally we're willing to get reimbursed. But
right.
Okay, so they set aside $200,000 for Trawler to go in there and take care of the next 200 individuals. But I think the number, we're at 170 or something like that. When we get the number 243, what happens after that? Who's going to pay for those individuals?
When you guys talk about representation legally, I mean, that costs money. If you've got district attorneys, but you can outwork their capacity and you have to contract help.
And that's going to happen.
Okay.
That's going to happen. 200,000 that I'm in the hole right now is just strictly at my jail.
Right.
We haven't even begun to put all the dollars amount together, what it's going to cost me on the first 43.
Yeah.
You know, at a flat rate of $400. But if they've got to travel to Dilley and the Zoom capabilities don't work over there because these individuals that are being arrested, they've not been convicted.
Right.
You have to go through due process. So that's not, so they have to be given an attorney. Then they have to be able to meet with that attorney within 24 hours, and there's a process to that. What we're looking at right now, that process has not been done correctly.
Mm.
So we have Blue Lag, and we have Texas Rural Legal Aid. All these, they send us letters. The bottom line is something's gone wrong.
Right.
So at the end of the day, do you want to put the county in the position to be liable for some of the mistakes? I'm going to say for some of the mistakes the state's made.
Okay.
Okay. Now, again, the state, the governor's office and all that, they're the only ones that have actually tried to do something.
Since when though? When did that, like you
Well,
said?
they started Operation Lone Star. We started asking for help probably in March, April.
Okay.
And then they started sending more DPS officers down to come help us with the sheriff. They started, I think, around the 10th, 16th, or something like that, or in March is when we started getting more people into our jail.
Mm-hmm.
And they would be were on the news for high-speed chases. And we had individuals out here that had passed because of they were trying to get stopped, and the individual just didn't slow down.
Mm-hmm.
And he ended up, I think we lost 8 lives out there on 277.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so we have a bigger presence. And what most people, again, we had this conversation a little while ago, don't understand on the border. I would say 99% of the ones that are coming across and want to get caught, they're not bad people.
Right.
The problem is that we're spending a lot of time with them. Border trouble is, therefore you start getting the other people that really would get caught and that ain't supposed to be here or not supposed to be here. Those are the ones that we're having issues with. Those are the ones that are going through ranches, tearing up stuff, breaking into to ranches, to houses, stealing batteries of all things, just to be able to keep their phones charged and stuff as they're walking out across it. Those are the individuals that we're really having problems with. These individuals that are crossing up here on the river, I mean, at the end of the day, they're trying to come to a better, have a better life, And I tell people that if we made the decisions locally here, if we can make a decision and stick to it, the shit would already be fixed.
Yeah.
It's politics. I mean, it's just dependent on what side of the fence you are at.
Right.
And nobody wants to come to the middle to get this problem solved.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to illustrate a couple of things here. We are 400 miles from Dallas, and I'm rounding 400 miles from Dallas, 400 miles from El Paso, 400 miles from Houston-ish. We're a long way from anywhere. I mean, I went from the middle of nowhere in Terlingua to here today, and that was 4.5 hours to get back into the middle of nowhere. So it's hard to.
Softball cross.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was shocking. It was like driving through Alaska when you didn't see much traffic. I want to back up to the political part, though, of this. I want to stick on the remoteness of this. It is dangerous for these people when they cross. And I saw a story about how you guys are using your emergency management side of things to put medical beacons where if someone's in distress in the desert when they cross, they can.
That's border trouble.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So there's a lot of money that goes into other things that you don't even think of. What about the translation capacity? Because not everybody speaks Spanish when they come across this border. And it's a beautiful town. I was driving around just to get a sense for it. It reminds me of my hometown, about 35,000 people here. But what if someone speaks fill in the blank language? How do you guys maintain that resource?
That's going to be a cost.
Right.
Those are costs right now that we will have to incur, especially with DPS and everybody arresting them for trespassing, criminal mischief. That's one of those costs that I don't think we've actually figured into the equation.
Right.
But you're going to have somebody here because once you're picked up, you still have to have due process.
Right.
And again, you're not guilty until proven guilty.
Right.
You're innocent. So they have to have every benefit of the doubt and move forward. So that's a cost that we're going to incur. What that dollar amount's going to be, I don't know. I mean, it's just, but stuff like that, thinking out of the box until you actually get into it.
Yeah.
Now it's like, Jesus, we didn't think about that one.
Yeah.
And we're having those moments right now. I mean, we are. I mean, when you go through the processing center, you're put down to Dilly, then you're tested in Dilly. So I've got people also that have AIDS. I've got people with COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And I use the word I sort of, we're all in this together. So at the end of the day, it's I. The state's one supposed to be taken care of, but we're part of it.
Yeah.
But you have COVID, you have AIDS, you have TB.
Yeah.
And these are all people that have been tested there. Now, when you get to the border side, our federal side, 2 weeks ago, we were told that they weren't testing anything. So you're releasing these individuals that have not been tested. You're releasing family units into our community in order to be able to, so they can go wherever they want to go.
Right.
But they've not been tested. So that adds another layer. And the whole thing about it, though, is though that you test them and God, now what am I supposed to do?
Right.
Now there's another layer that
Yeah.
I've got to take care of, so you're not almost, but you're damned if you do, damned if you don't type it. I really think, and I'm going to give my opinion here, if President Biden wants to let him come across and that's what he ran on is that, he let him come across, let him come across. I don't care. But once you step into the water and you come across, you're illegal. You're illegal. You're illegal. You get caught, get your picture taken, get fingerprinted, we ought to send you back. The point of origin is going to be difficult, but send them back to Mexico. And then you use your political power when Mexico says, oh, wait a minute, I don't want them. Well, then you should have done a better job stopping them at your southern border.
Right.
Okay, because you let them come through here because you thought we'd just go and open the door. You come across the water, you're illegal. Take a picture, catch you, send you back. Now, the other process is that our nation is built on immigration.
Yeah.
So we're the United States is nothing but immigrants.
Right.
Right. I don't care, white, Mexican, Chinese, whatever.
Right.
When all this stuff first got started, all these nationalities and everything and races were built on immigration. So come across the water, get caught, get fingerprinted, picture taken, get sent back. Now we have to open up some resources in some areas for them to come across legally, but in a controlled manner, something we can process. A week ago, this past Wednesday, I think it's when Governor Abbott signed a declaration in order to stop busing the transportation. That next week on Thursday, between Thursday and Monday, there was over 1,200 individuals released into our community. Luckily, there was enough stuff going on that almost all 1,200 were taken out. We did have Thursday night, over 150 people spend the night in Del Rio, in Valverde County. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, there wasn't that many people every night that spent the night, but there was still anywhere from 50 to 100 people that spent the night in Valverde County. You go look right now at stripes, where they were being dropped off. You don't see that many people there at night anymore. One of the things that I think we can do better, and we've had this conversation, is with Border Patrol, and I'm not throwing them under the bus.
Sure. This is a hard problem.
Job.
Yeah.
But, you got to sort of, but let's be truthful.
Yeah.
If you're going to drop people off, don't drop them off at 6:30 at night because nothing's running.
Yeah.
So if you would please do a better job of when you're going to drop them off during the day. And that last bus that you drop off at 6:30 or 7 or 8 o'clock at night, then there's no place for those individuals to go except on the street.
And getting dropped off here, what's next is a town that's 30 miles away, but there's not a lot in that next town.
No, there's nothing really compared to here.
There's a big
bus station.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. You're the first set of national franchises here that until Alpine, and that was a McDonald's. It wasn't even,
Well, and most of these individuals, they're catching the bus out either San Antonio, Houston, or Dallas.
Okay.
We get a text a little while ago, and again, you're going to be the first one to listen to this.
Yeah.
Is that San Antonio's trying to write something? Don't know if it's true, but I got a text a little while ago trying to see if we can keep our immigrants in Valverde County, not haul them to the airport. Okay, well, me screaming and hollering that I've got a problem here in Valverde County, I've got 2 or 3 people listening.
Mm-hmm.
But if I can make, sort of trying not to cuss, but if I can make, if I can get San Antonio upset, they got a bigger stick.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not trying to aggravate them, but they are having a problem right now because everybody's trying on the border to play catch up and get these people out of their county. So San Antonio got hit hard. We had to, it was on the news of people sleeping and staying the night at the airport, going to the restroom out in the parking lot, so they got inundated, and I feel bad.
Yeah.
But I'm a county judge of Howard County. I'm not a county judge of San Antonio. Okay.
Yeah.
So I am going to do my best to get these individuals to a hub, a bigger place for them to be able to get out.
Yeah.
I feel bad that we sent so many of them to San Antonio, really do. But we are going to continue to do it. You can follow whatever order you want, and we will challenge it. It's that simple. They don't even want to, these individuals that have come through, they don't even want to be in Texas. They want, and you know what? Personally, I don't want them in Texas, but I damn sure don't want them in Howard County.
Yeah.
So.
Well, isn't it fair to say that San Antonio, it's one of the biggest cities in the nation. And so they're more equipped than a town.
Definitely. Yeah. Most definitely. In 2019, the problem also right now is that in 2019, we had NGOs in San Antonio that were open. They were accepting all these individuals to try to get them a way out of San Antonio. Once we got them there, then they were able, we had more help. But because of COVID, and it's all related to COVID, it isn't that people don't want to help. It's just they're scared, and then when you're not being tested, they don't know whether people have COVID or not. And everybody's numbers right now in the state of Texas, everybody's numbers are increasing with COVID. And then you add this other layer that you're moving 1,000 people a week somewhere else that have not been tested. It's pretty scary. And if I lived in San Antonio, if I was the county judge or mayor of San Antonio, I'd be worried too. And I'd be trying to do everything I can to keep people from coming in.
Right.
I would.
But this,
I live in Howard County, so we're going to try to get into San Antonio.
But this goes to the whole, the federal aspect of this. The vice president is on the job. She's going to work on solving this. She made it to El Paso. And I don't know if she made it down to Del Rio, but how long should this, realistically, are we being unfair and looking at her job on the border and kind of not being very happy with it?
You need to come down. First, you got to realize that there's a problem. Like my dad's always said, you can't fix the shit unless you know it's broken.
Right.
Or you got to admit it's broken. And then you can figure out solutions. To me, you got to admit there's a crisis, whether it's in Texas or California or whatever, but you got to admit there's a crisis. So, like I said, if she was to come down, no rocket on, no nothing.
Sure.
Let's have a serious conversation. Leave your cameras and leave all that stuff in the plane. Come out here and land at Laughlin, and we'll take a ride. Right. When you leave here, if you don't believe it's a problem, then I've not done a good job explaining it to you.
Yeah.
All right. But we have to move from extreme right and extreme left. We're not going to get anything done. I have a bunch of Republicans at the federal level that have come down. They're not going to do me any good.
Right.
And I'm not throwing rocks at them either, but they feel like it sometimes because I told a couple of them, hell, I don't want you. You do not do me any good.
Right.
Get my Republicans, get my Democrats down here, get the people from the Democratic side down here, and then we can work together to try to figure this out. And to me, it's not that difficult. If you're going to allow them in, just pick a better process than what you're doing right now. That's the only thing I'm asking. I'm not asking you to close the gate and set the cane on fire.
Right.
You know what I mean? But there has to be a better process than what we're going through right now. If your policy is to let them in, then the ones that walk across the water, they are illegal. Send them back.
Right.
But do a better job on the other end, giving them options in order to come into our country legally. And those options are not there. And I'll get hammered from both sides. I can't believe you want them in. And the other side, first, we don't do enough for them because they're here. And the other side, you do too much for them.
Sure.
But we're going to have to listen to each other and come to a decision somewhere in the middle because what we're going through right now does not work. And it's that simple. It's going to cost us money here at the county level. And it's like everything else. Who do you go ask? I'm going to go ask my big brother, which is the state, and then they can go ask the federal government. But I was told the other day, you want to kick the can basically in the somewhere else and get them moved. That's my job as a county judge. Is not to have them here and to have 1,000 people a week roaming our communities with people scared. In 2019, we had a lot more people volunteering. The NGO had more money because they were getting more money given to them. We don't see that right now. Even some of the individuals that in 2019 wanted more done for the immigrants, now they just want them out of the county. And it's an issue that, we can say it's federal issue. It's my problem right now. And I really would hope that you put the Republicans and the Democrats put their differences aside. Not going to happen.
Yeah.
But you got, we can hope and we can pray and light candles and stuff. But, this is an issue that I think it's about saving face. You have our president that needs to save face because he said this is what was going to happen. The process doesn't. I'm not asking you to close the door and send everybody on the other side home and just say nobody can ever come across. I'm just asking you to get to a better process. These people want to be anywhere else but the state of Texas. So let them buy their ticket after you process them and you bring them through, and then they go on. These individuals, you get to come across as a family unit. I turn you loose, and then you're not allowed to work. So who's going to take care of them?
Right.
How are they going to be taken care of? I mean, again, this is just, it wasn't thought out. I mean, it was just sort of damn if you do, and I'm going to do it, and damn you,
You said if you go across the water, you're illegal and send them back. But we both know that the border is immense. And just the other day, I was in Candelaria, and I accidentally entered Mexico. I didn't go across the body of water. I went, because right there, the Rio Grande is not very wet. And I walked through some stiff mud, and I thought, well, this is just like an estuary or something.
and it was it.
And it was it. And I realized I was in Mexico. And then we had seen a guy come off an ATV going the other direction, and he clearly had come from Mexico as well. And so this is sort of that extra legal zone where this is like an accepted normal thing. And no one's going to go across. For right now, there's not a whole lot of people coming across in Candelaria, I would imagine. But there are people going across daily because that's how they live their lives over there. Is that permissibility part of the problem?
My opinion is the amount of people that are coming across from Valverde County and crossing the water in Valverde County.
Yeah.
You are illegal.
Okay.
And there has to be a solution. There has to be, And again, my wife, I get sort of you oversimplify everything. It can't be that simple. It really can be.
Okay.
We have a set of laws that allows people to come into our country. We have a set of laws that does not allow them to come into our country.
Right. Yeah.
Stick close to what we have, and just because it's policy, and that's where we run into issues. We had Trump, but he went to extreme one way. You got to go back, and then I've got Biden that he went the other way.
Right.
But I would say that 90% of us are somewhere in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
We just want a solution. We want to solve the problem or get close to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I said in the past that I'm a contractor by trade, and I've never been able to fix a water leak of this magnitude with the water off.
Yeah.
It's real hard to fix a problem when you continue to deal with it every day. Now, you're not here. People ain't here. I mean, I have a governor that's trying to help. I have a president, vice president that, I don't really think they're trying to hurt us down here, but they're not engaged. When you have a vice president that says, well, I've never been in an interview, I've never been to Europe. What the?
Shocking.
Yeah, what does that have to do with anything?
And then laugh.
Yes, and what does that have to do with our issues here? It has nothing to do with us here.
Right.
But you go to El Paso, nobody's screaming as loud as we are here from Del Rio down.
Yeah.
I have our county judge in Laredo that he signed a declaration or an order not to allow Border Patrol to transport people into Laredo. People ask me, did I agree with him? I've done the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now it affected me, but I'm not going to go out here and throw rocks at the county judge for trying to take care of his county.
Right.
Because like you said a little while ago, we're living this on a daily basis. And that's all we want is to get somebody that could actually make a decision above my pay grade, above
Yeah.
everybody else's pay grade, and get them down here to be able to see what the problem is. If they would come down and look, when my border patrol station here can handle, I think, 117, and you have over 650 detained, we've got a problem. When you have over 20 some odd border patrol agents in my station here that have COVID, we've got a problem. When I'm doing 600, we get 600 one day here in Del Rio, the Del Rio area, and we get 1,200 one day in Eagle Pass. Immigrants. And these are individuals that are coming across and asking where the bus is.
Right.
They're not running, they're coming to the gate. The other deal is I don't know who takes care of them and who advises them, but they were coming through a place called Border, which is the name of the man, whatever, down there through his property. And we were getting those at the beginning, coming through, and then once the governor figured out that hey, we can get them for trespassing, then they figured out, well, you can't if I go down to the Bush fence or Trump fence because I'm on federal land. You can't file on me for trespassing or criminal mischief because I'm on federal land. So our numbers everywhere else sort of ceased a little bit, really went down. But then we got, caravan of 400, a caravan of 300 and 200 and 150. And then we get a couple hundred underneath the bridge that we're trying to process. And then you get individuals that, well, you need to do more for them. It ain't humane. I'd rather for them to be under a bridge and under mesquite and on the other side of the fence than be at my border patrol station that in reality, we can't handle them. So pick the ones up that we can process, get them processed, and then once you start releasing, go pick a couple more. But to pick up the whole group of 200, 300 or 400 and say, now where am I going to put them? So is it less humane to leave them there or to put them at a border patrol place where they're all packed like sardines and at least there they can, we had stories that, on Friday that they crossed underneath the bridge. And then the ones that weren't getting enough to eat, they went back to Mexico, 1 and 8, and then came back. You know what I mean? So is it better for them to be there until they can get processed, or is it better for them to be in a cage smaller than this building with 30 people or 40 people in it?
Yeah.
And again, you're not ever going to make everybody happy. My opinion is you leave them there until you can get them processed, make sure they've got water and what they need, and then pick them up as you can as there's room. But again, when your station here is supposed to hold 117, and now you're over 650 because we've got them in tents, we've got them in areas where that are to store. Equipment, to store parts for equipment. And we've already turned that in. And then you have a border patrol agent that in order for them to get around, he's got to scoot so close to his desk that he's sort of leaning over for another border patrol agent to go behind him.
Yeah.
And this is the processing center.
Right.
It's not right. I mean, and I think that if people would come down, and I'm saying people, I think that if people that could make a decision,
Right.
Not one that they're going to go talk to somebody that's going to talk to somebody.
Right.
Going to talk to somebody else. It's like a hell that don't end.
Yeah.
But we really do need. I would hope that our vice president and our president, I don't see him ever coming down, and I'm okay with that. But I would hope that our vice president would come down and take a little trip. And then, sort of sit down and think about what they just saw and try to come up. Again, you want them to have a place to come. I'm not going to say, well, the gate shut, set the can on fire.
Right.
There has to be a better process than what we're living through right now. It's not going to.
There are so many questions because this is such a complex problem. But yeah, if your policy is going to be permissive, then provision that permissiveness. You have other problems too. Like if you have 600 people approaching the port of entry and there's any kind of a crisis, these people might be desperate. It's hot here. You can have, I don't know how many people work at the Border Patrol, but it's not 25. They can be overwhelmed in a second. There's been violence across the river, shots fired. And now you have this permissive environment problem where you're trying to keep people safe. And if anything goes wrong, if a match sparks.
It would take, it's like everything else. You're in a room full of gunpowder, and hope nobody
Right.
finds matches.
Right.
You know, all it takes is that one. You have down at the port, you have individuals that are dealing with them on a daily basis. Now that they're coming across, they found that they can stay under the bridge. And then there have been some instances where there's been a little bit of violence. They've been, they don't like being told what to go do.
Right.
And they feel like, I come across, you're supposed to take care of it.
Right.
It's bad enough. And again, we could get off on subject, but it's bad enough that our own people now feel entitled with all this money that's been given out. And now it's amazing the communication that these individuals, immigrants that are coming across have amongst themselves. When you're looking at their phones and they're telling you, look, I was told to come to Las Vacas to the Chihuahua Center,
Yeah.
to the NGO, and here's the address. It's like, well, where'd you get that from? Well, no, it's on our Facebook. This is how we know where to come and where to cross. I would say everybody that's crossing has a phone. We had complaints of them, as they were being released, going into businesses that were just trying to conduct their daily business, sitting around getting their phones charged. Is that an inconvenience? Yes. Is it a criminal offense? No. But it's difficult when you're trying to conduct business and nobody's willing to come into your business because you got a bunch of individuals that ain't buying anything, sitting around having their phones charged.
Yeah.
And it's a different culture. I will tell you that, we've had phone calls from businesses when they're chartered out that, can you please not have them stop here?
Right.
How come? Well, they're peeing in my windshield wiper container, that's true life. You couldn't even begin to make this stuff up. You know what I mean? But they're not used to it. These individuals, they're not used to that. Down at the NGO, we had a bunch of complaints about people bathing. And I'm not, outside, with the water hose, kids, little girls, boys, the mother, naked bathing.
All right.
I'm not going to say, I'm going to say it's not their fault, but they don't know better.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it's not part of their culture to have to
Right.
worry about it.
Yeah.
But then I had the neighbors' phone calls that, Jesus Christ, can you keep them from doing that? Can you keep them from,
Yeah.
from pooping in my yard or peeing in my yard? And they have a tendency, to roam a little bit. My bus ain't gonna be here for 3 hours, so I'm gonna go check out, see what everything looks like. And people are hesitant. People are scared now that before in 2019, we're not scared. It really didn't. And there were people that were willing to help or not willing to help right now. They want individuals that are coming across out of our county. And again, I get back that there has to be a solution. Somebody needs to offer something that whichever the other side is, can sort of accept and let's move on. But it's real hard to realize that there's a problem when you don't live on the border, live in Texas. Florida realizes that there's an issue because there for a while, the ones that were coming, there were 70% of them that wanted to get to Florida.
Right.
So, like people have said, coming to a town near you.
Right.
And it's true, we have Haitians, we have Cubans, I could walk over there and get a list of people that from what countries,
Right.
we're 50 some odd countries, 80 some odd countries.
You guys aren't equipped to
100 some
handle
odd
that.
countries.
Yeah.
They're from everywhere. You said a little while ago about that translation. These are issues that really, we hadn't ever really thought about,
Right.
but we're having problems with it now.
Well, and your hospital is built for a town of 35,000 people. You have a lot of different aspects of, and I want to talk about the Del Rio part of the problem here, less about the Valverde part, but there's you guys have a culture, the despoblado, if I'm saying it correctly, this is a desolation. People come here to get away from government. They want to be, you choose to come here or you're born here. This is not a place, it's not metropolitan here, right? And people come here for that reason. There's a culture there. And then as a judge, you've also got a commitment, an elected official, you've got a commitment to keep your ranchers safe, your business owners safe, and process. Not that all of these folks are, criminal, but there are people that are going to come through and they are going to poop in your yard, which can't be legal.
Or burn your barn down.
accidentally on purpose, whatever, right? Yeah. We drove way out in the desert, not south of Candelaria, but there was clearly a safe house right there by the highway. And, these people are coming through and whatever human atrocities are happening, there's all kinds of problems and there's danger in people coming around. And we as landowners or whatever, we get to say, I'm terrified that something's going to happen to my daughter when I'm not at work, or fill in the blank. How do you deal with that part as someone who's trying to negotiate with the state, the federal government, all these different things, and the criminal side?
The whole thing behind this also is that you're dealing with a double-edged sword, and the handle's even got those even sharp like you. You're asking for help from the state. They did. They sent more troopers down here, and then on the other hand, now they're catching them.
Right.
So now I've got to deal with them at the jail. So that's costing me more money.
Yeah. What does it cost when someone walks into the courtroom? Because you've got a bailiff, you've got all these things. It's got to be $10,000 the moment someone sits down in a chair.
It's an attorney for $400.
Right.
Right from the word get-go. I got a magistrate. One of the JPs, that's the magistrate.
Yeah.
Then that paper goes to my county clerk, and they have people at the county clerk's office that are dealing with that paperwork. And then it goes from there to my county attorney. Right now. So then he needs to figure out, okay, am I gonna prosecute, or I'm gonna deny prosecution? I'm not doing it. Right. And then you've got to get people to come back in and file order, no trespassing charges or something. It's just an ongoing deal, and we ain't got to court yet.
Yeah. And if you're detaining this person, that's whatever that is.
$90 to us right now, because I lose $15, cost me $70 some odd dollars, $90 a night per day.
Yeah.
It might not sound like a bunch, but you start adding it up. And
it's a town of 35,000 people, though. So
we're a little bit bigger than that, but we're probably about 48,000 countywide.
Okay, countywide. Okay.
Around 40 some odd thousand city, 38,000, 40,000 city, but my geo number, I take about $900 to $1 million revenue that goes in because of the jail, and I've already lost 20% of what I had projected as revenue. I've lost 20%. So that hurts. Yeah. And like you just said, you have ancillary costs. You have, we ain't even begun with the county clerk. We haven't been into the county attorney. I've got a judge August 11th that he's already set a docket for August 11th on these first 43 that were arrested and that are sitting down in jail. So we've got 11, 12 of those cases set for August 11th to go through that process to arraign them, So are they going to want a jury trial? Are they going to? It's just you might like they do in the movies, just like throwing money out. We ain't got it. Right. The state has promised to help us to get reimbursed again with the invoices that we've turned in.
Wait, being the government's paying like net 360 terms, it's so far behind.
Yeah.
What about the legal aspect for the residents, though? I mean, the last judge, apparently she is a ranch owner as well. You have people down here that have businesses that rely on a stable place. And right now we're not able to provide that.
Well, I mean, the meetings that we've gone to with the ranchers and individuals that are in a rural part of our county, basically don't live within the city limits. They're dealing with this. We have people that live down on the river that have never, ever, they lived here for 30, 40 years and have never seen this type of migration. Never seen them coming through their yard like this. Never seen them going through their vehicles looking for stuff. Never seen them where they leave the freezer that's outside in the shed open and we ruin the whole freezer and meat. And these people are living on a fixed income. And they've been out hunting or something, and this is how they live. A little bit of deer, a little bit of this, and don't have it anymore because they left the damn freezer door open. It wasn't bad enough that they stole meat, but now they left the freezer door open and everything in the freezer. We've lost guns at some of these ranches, the ranch houses where they've gone in and taken the guns. So now the people that you're looking for, if they weren't armed before, they're armed now. Right. You walk out to a barn, a lady walks out, and you have your wife walk out to a barn or your daughter walk out to a barn, and you've got 14 of them inside the barn. It only takes one person to turn that situation into
a massacre,
a nightmare.
Right.
And you have people that, I guess about a month ago, we were getting quite a few phone calls that, basically want to take matters into their own hands. You know,
Right.
and my deal is, you know, look, if you feel threatened or whatever, but, you know, I'd hate to, I would hate for a citizen to go to jail because they're trying to protect themselves. That is something.
How do you communicate that out though to the community? Because I was dying to ask you this. You know, you feel threatened, and you know there's some purple paint on a tree on your property line, and some person from Mexico, they don't know that's a fence. You know, it's a tree with some pretty purple paint on it.
Yeah.
And here in Texas,
and there's no trespass. You know?
Yeah, and now they've committed a higher level crime. So how do you communicate to your people like you need to protect yourselves, but don't massacre people, you know, or whatever?
You know, that's a good question. I will tell you that we've had several conversations with individuals and you know, the sheriff has more of those conversations than I have, but you still get the phone calls. You'll go to a meeting that they call and want you to come by and visit with, you know, a group of 5 or 6 or 10, or go down to a business.
And these are people that are trying to be legal. They're not trying to harm anybody.
And they don't want to hurt nobody.
Right.
But they do want to know, how do I protect myself?
Right.
You know, where's the line?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we have, you know, and this is where it gets serious and hurt.
Yeah.
You know, you have an elderly man that wants to know, can I shoot him through the door? Because they come to my door when my life is felt right.
Yeah.
That's a legitimate question. And the answer is no.
Okay.
You know, you can't shoot him through the door. Don't shoot him through the window. If you feel threatened, you know, I'm not going to tell you how to shoot him, but don't shoot him through the door. Don't shoot him through the window. Don't shoot him when they're leaving. And it's a shame that we're having these damn conversations.
Right.
You know, and I can't give them advice on how to do it legally. You know, I mean, but you know, if you feel threatened when you're in your home, I would say that you need to take care of yourself, right? And again, you can tell my voice is changing a little bit, but it's serious.
It is.
You have our individuals that feel threatened. You get those phone calls. You know, and what would you do as a county judge, and what would you do as a sheriff if your own people, if something was to happen to you?
Yeah.
You know, I've got, you know, and I have to tell the story that I've got 2 kids, and everybody's both been listening. Listen, my daughter, the little horses, but either way, and my son. But you have my daughter, she'd be a statistic. She'd be one of those that would make sure that a little girl down in South Del Rio, that there was a bunch of them coming, 3 of them walking on the street, you know, and she'd be the one that she stopped and make sure that a little girl got on the bus and she left. But if something was to happen, she'd back up without hesitation, probably went over somebody and then shoot the hell out of them. My son would make sure that little girl was okay. But then if nothing happened, he'd pick the 3 individuals up, make sure that they had a place to eat and everything else. And my daughter would be a statistic because she'd be the one that ran over somebody. And then my son would be a statistic because he'd probably have his truck stolen.
Right.
You know, and I'm not saying everybody's bad. Don't get me wrong.
Of course.
But you know, we live with this shit every day.
Right.
I mean, it's one of those deals that, and I'd hate for my kids to be part of either of violence, of them committing a violent, you know, some type of violence against them, and the other one for violence to be against him.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and both my kids were raised the same, but it's difficult. Again, we did this on a daily basis. You know, they asked, you know, as a county judge, could I expect to do this? You know, my dad, I go back to my dad says, you know, he's like, oh, who the hell go back to the third? Twice as a commissioner, once as judge.
Yeah.
You know, but when we ran, we thought we could make a difference. And I think we had, but the plans that we wanted and how we wanted to move our community forward. I came in 2019 with a court that I believe is an awesome commissioner's court. Not that I wasn't part as a commissioner of other 2 courts. They weren't great courts, but you have a plan. All that's been put on pause. You know, I can't move forward with a lot of the stuff that I'd like to do for my community because every time I turn around, Jesus Christ, I'm dealing with this shit.
Yeah.
You know, we dealt with in 2019 with immigration, and then we did COVID, and then and then I've got everything else in the county. I've got anthrax on my deer in one part. I've got chronic waste that I'm dealing with on another part. I'm still dealing with COVID, and the numbers are going high, and now I'm dealing with immigrants again all at once. And I'm dealing with the federal government and the state. So as a county judge here in this county, how do I take care of my people when I'm not able to implement any type of plan? There are very few plans to take care of my kids, take care of, I'm losing, I've lost a couple $100,000 out of the jail, but yet I'm not going to take care of my veterans. I'm not going to go build some tiny homes and try to get them help. But I'm going to go drop $250,000 for all this stuff's over by the end of September probably. But when we go budget, I don't have that money to do for the veterans. I don't have it, but I'm forced into blowing it over here. But I can't take care of my veterans. I can't take care of my kids. I don't have softball. I don't have baseball. I don't have basketball courts. People say that might be petty, but I was elected to take care of the individuals of Valverde County. I didn't run for state office. I didn't run for federal office.
You didn't run to be immigration general,
No, I didn't. And you know what? I shouldn't have to deal with it. It is my problem. And again, if we could make a decision and fix it, the decision would already be made, and there would be a conclusion. There would be something out there that then we could argue whether it's right or wrong, but at least we wouldn't have the flow of immigrants, the flow of immigration, these people that are coming across that we have now in an unsuitable manner. I mean, it isn't that you don't want them or do want them. They have a right to be here, in my opinion. Get crap over that one. But there has to be a better process than what we're going through right now. That's all I'm asking for from the federal government. Figure out a better way than what we're dealing with right now. It isn't that we can't have them, but you have to figure out a better way that it does not burden the states or the counties because of the decisions that you're making at a federal level. I mean, that's the problem.
If you could take some aspect, talking straight to Joe Biden, if he could write an executive order, or if he could bring back some of the favorable processes that President Trump put into place, and this is not an endorsement of anybody, everybody understands, but if you could talk directly to him, what are like the three things or the one thing that he could change instantly to take some of this load off your guys' back and allow you to do it? And then I want to also add in the element of every time the administration changes, your guys' plan is completely crushed. That's expensive, man hours and everything else to refigure out how do we work this
You're
thing
running to
out.
catch up. You never can catch up. It's like a constant race.
Yeah.
And it's one of those deals that it's not even a marathon because it's a sprint as soon as the administration changes.
Yeah.
And then they're wide open all the time.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, you just can't catch up. The three things. One, I would really like for them to reconsider letting everybody cross the water. If you come across, it's a catch and release. They came across, they're illegals, send them back.
Right.
Mexico says, well, we don't want them. Tough titty said, kitty. I mean, it's one of those deals that if you hadn't let them in on your southern border, I wouldn't be having this issue with them.
Right.
So send them back. If you want to bring them across, figure out the process. Figure out 5-6 places along the Texas border that they can come across the bridge or come across legally. Then you come to a number that you can process on a daily basis, whether it be 50 or 100 or whether it be 1,000. I don't care.
Right.
But come to that number. Once you come to that number, those individuals need to get out of my county. End of story.
Okay.
So you get with Greyhound or whoever. Let them buy their own tickets. They all have money and get them out of the county and get them to a hub that can sustain the amount of traffic that you're going to be putting on them.
Right.
And let them get to wherever they're going to go. That's one. And these dollars that we're losing here, I'm going to ask the state to do this. And I think if it had been any other state except a red state, we'd have already been funded. It is political. It's a shame because they're not looking for us. And just come on down.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not going to throw rocks at you. Let's be professional about it. Let's get in the room. You give me about 20, 30 minutes and I'm going to tell you what I think.
Yeah.
What I'd like to see happen.
Right.
And then if you can make it happen, you make it happen, but at least spend some time with me. And I know that again, president ain't gonna, but send me the vice president, or
Right.
give me 30 minutes. If you give me 30 minutes with me and the sheriff and, my county attorney,
Right.
30 minutes, I'll ask. We'll fly up. We'll take some pictures. If you can't come down, we'll show you. We'll take pictures of what we're dealing with, because they have to understand. I don't think they're stupid.
Right.
I wish I could have thought of another word, but
Yeah.
you just got to realize that there's an issue.
But you can be ignorant and not in a way, purposefully ignorant is a problem. And I think that's where we're at. That's why it's so
I think we
aggravating.
have blinders on.
Right.
I think it's one of those deals because you have a Republican governor wanting to do stuff, and you're a Democratic president, and our government probably don't want for president. You've already heard that stuff.
Yeah.
And damn busy contest.
Yeah. Let it burn a little bit so I can, get some points for president. Yeah. Right.
But it's the way the game's played.
Right.
But I guarantee you get more points. Everybody would get more points if we could figure out something that we could all live with. When we negotiate stuff, it's contracts with different businesses, stuff like that. Like I say, if all of us leave the table mad, we probably come up with a pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
If any of us is really happy, then we probably haven't done our job. And that's the way we have to look at it. If all of us leave the table mad, that we can live with it, but we didn't really get what we wanted completely.
Right.
Probably a pretty good deal. And I think we need to come to that. I would hope that our elected officials above us, our state and our federal officials, that they could just come to something. One of the other things too, at our federal level and Jesus Christ, they got to have term limits. I'm going to throw that out there. You can't turn into powder.
Right.
Sit there and die and turn into powder because you've been there forever. And I think that's one of the issues that we have is that, president has term limit everywhere, but yet everybody else around him, they got no term limits.
Yeah.
So you can't be there forever. You need to go away.
I also want to have a financial windfall limit. If you go from being a 100,000-aire to a 10 millionaire, you've won. You no longer can serve in Congress.
You can go home.
Yeah, you can go home. Go get somebody. You've won. Goodbye. Go run a special election. Bring us somebody who's an actual human who doesn't.
That will actually do something.
Yeah,
right. And isn't already been in the ditch so long that in that rut.
Yeah.
That he doesn't know anything else. It's just Republican. It's just Democrat. And that's
please.
And I know I'm getting off.
Yeah.
I think that's the issue that we have right
now.
Yeah. You're just there until you die. I mean, and it's the voters that are going to get you in or whatever, but no, everybody's scared to run against you because of the amount of money that you have behind you. It isn't that you're capable or they think you're doing a good job. It's just a waste of time because you're going to bury me in funds. And I know I'm getting off the immigration issue, but all this is like one big problem.
It's one big problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you believe because you're a Democrat or you believe that you're a Republican that whatever you say, is the truth, and this is the only way to go. Well, that's the problem that we're having is that it's just not the truth, or it's not always right. You can't be right all the time. It's just not possible. When I came in when I was running for judge, I was told, how are you going to have the commissioners come together? It's not my job. Mm-hmm. They're all adults. I think we have an opinion. You vote how you want to vote based on what you think is right. And then we move on to item 13 or 12. You don't hold that crap against somebody else.
Right.
But we have a tendency once you leave this level here that it doesn't work like that. You beat me down on this one, I'm going to beat you down on the next. Well, it's just an opinion. I mean, let's move on, folks.
I'm going to ask one last question so you can get your meeting that you're going to get to, but what aspect of the immigration problem keeps you up at night? Like maybe isn't happening now. I would think loss of life would be a big thing, but what worries you the most?
We talked about it a little while ago. I see all sides of the story. I get from people that we need to do more for the immigrants. I see people that do less, basically weld the gates, shut them.
Yeah.
These individuals, when you have, and this is what gets you, is when you have a lady told my sheriff that I'd rather die in the river than live in my country.
Yeah.
So that pulls against your heart.
Yeah.
We're all human. But I would hate for one of my citizens that I represent to shoot somebody and have to live with that because they felt threatened enough that they had to kill somebody.
Yeah.
Because at the end of it, you're going to have to live with that for the rest of your life. That right there haunts me. Like I said, I've got 2 kids. I'd hate for them to walk up on my daughter, or my son, or somebody, or anybody in the county to have to live with that because they felt threatened enough that they had to shoot somebody. So you get both sides. I mean, you wish these people no harm. You don't. If they're coming for a better place to live, God bless them doing it. There has to be a better process, but our citizens should not be put in a position that they would have to take matters into their own hands and then have to live with it. I mean, how do you put somebody in a